Well, welcome everybody. I am running just a little bit late today, but what you care about is that you get the meat that's on the bone for today's subject matter. And so I'm grateful to be here. My name is Paul Fletcher, and this is the Healing Source. And today we dive a little bit deeper into the subject matter of channeling. In case you missed last week's episode, then please go back, watch last week's episode. It set the foundation for this week about what is channeling, where does it originate from, is all of the little intricate details associated with it. And for the next 6 sessions, I'm going to go into deeper territory with this subject of channeling, what I refer to as divine flow. And as shared last week, that's because of the training that I received, that you can receive flow from the divine, from benevolent beings of love and light. Now today we're going to go into how to develop divine flow, how to increase your own abilities specific to divine flow. And it is actually not something that can easily be covered in this short 30 minutes. Because for myself, I have trained in this for several years, and part of that training includes the ability to discern accuracy, the ability to be able to navigate the communication process. So there are many pieces to this puzzle, so to speak. Now, when I bring up the subject of divine flow or channeling, for those that may have missed last week, specifically this means connecting to the source, connecting to the source creator, God, Allah, whatever name you wish to refer to the source as. It could also mean connecting to and receiving guided message from other benevolent beings, including, for example, our beloved Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Krishna, or other well-known beings of love and light. Now there is a myriad, literally hundreds of thousands of people who feel they are channeling Palladians and other sources of information. And I am not here to say whether that is accurate or inaccurate or right or wrong. That's where their connection is, so that's where they choose to get their information. Could be good, it may be not good. It's really hard to say, and I don't really want to go down that road. What I want to do is to teach you how to truly connect fully and more to your source through divine flow. By taking the time to learn this method, this process, if you will, then you have the opportunity to stay very focused and intent on your path, I guess, because there may be benevolent beings on other planets. We discussed just a few weeks back the possibility of alien life, etc. However, given that we here in humanity tend to be a species that is very, very connected to God, to Source, our Creator, and given that our Source Creator very likely has a much higher soul standing and creation function than an alien or some other entity or being, I personally prefer to connect to that original source, the one that created me. So if that is your entire focus when learning how to channel, learning how to do divine flow, then your likelihood of exact and accurate connectivity can be significantly strengthened. And the more and more times that you connect to that source and receive guidance and receive flow, the opportunity for accuracy and clarification of accuracy becomes enhanced. Okay, so if you have a desire to go off in other directions and receive information from others, that's perfectly okay, but do it on your own and do it your own way. This methodology is specifically to connect to our source. Now, one of the keys of knowing and increasing your ability to connect to the source is this guy right here, the center of your chest, referred to as the heart chakra, or in the wisdom of the Tao wisdom teachings, it's referred to as the message center. The first time I heard that, I'm like, well, I've heard of heart chakra. I never heard of message center. And it was made clear that the reason this is called the message center is because this is where we receive messages from our soul and from the source. So when we connect to these direct messages from our soul, from our source, our heart chakra, our message center, acts as the barometer through which we can discern the quality and accuracy of that message. We operate in life, in normal life, third dimension life, by our feelings. If it feels good, we go with it. If it doesn't feel good, we might still go with it, but then we realize we made a mistake, right? Because the mind might have been involved in that process. Our heart says, don't do it. Our mind's so sure, why not? And we do it. And then, of course, later on, we're going, well, that was stupid. I should have followed my heart. That's because your heart is your message center. It is directly connected to your soul. And, of course, directly connected to your source. Herein lies the problem. My goal today is to teach you how to develop divine flow or channeling abilities. And the biggest nemesis in that ability to connect is our heart chakra, our heart center. And I don't mean nemesis in that our heart center is a nemesis. I mean that the blockages that we acquire through this in all lifetimes acts as a nemesis in our ability to have pure and accurate communication. So it's very, very important for you when you're listening to somebody that claims to be a channel. You need to listen not with your head, but with your heart. You need to listen. Does this resonate with me? Does this feel right to me? Okay? Now, that's different than, I don't really get that. That doesn't make sense to me. They might be saying things that don't logically make sense. But there's a difference between a logical makes sense and not sense, and if it feels right or not. So there are many times when I listen to people, they might be talking logically from their head. They might be, doing divine flow or channeling information. But when I listen to something that is not from the logical mind, I discern it from my heart to see if I resonate with it. And this is important for you when it comes to actually receiving messages from the soul world, from your soul, from the source. Okay? I want to stop for a moment and pause and acknowledge North, acknowledge Archangel Michael, the person that has their name listed as that. Obviously, they have a connection to that deity of light. So, one thing that is important to understand when developing divine flow channeling abilities is that each and every day we can have higher or lesser accuracy according to how our day's going. So if you get up and you trip on the way to the bathroom, start grumbling, and then you put, something that's not toothpaste on your toothbrush when you thought it was toothpaste, and your day starts going like that, you're probably not going to have the most accurate connection if you say, dear source, can you give me a message today? And because those kinds of tripping, falling, complaining, negative this, negative that, bad phone call, bad email, whatever, they can taint the quality of our emotions. And again, our emotions, they reside within our body, within our vessel. They can affect the purity of this light that's coming in. Now, in the teachings that I taught about 8 weeks ago, I spoke of the 5 major channels. Again, if you missed that, subscribe, go back and watch it. This included the soul language channel, the divine direct soul communication channel, the third eye channel, the direct knowing channel, and then putting it all together. Okay, that is key and relevant to developing divine flow and your channel abilities. So again, if you missed that, go back, because I'm going to refer to that more than once. In those sessions for the 4 major channels in the body, these channels 3 of the 4 start in your Mingmen acupuncture point, go through your heart chakra. The third eye does not. Third eye starts at the Mingmen point, goes up your back through your 5th chakra and then to your third eye. But the other 3 channels, the soul language channel, the divine direct knowing channel, and the divine direct soul communication channel, all go through your heart chakra. Okay, meaning this is the message center. So these channels are very, very important to keep clear. And in those previous recordings, I teach you some practices to keep them clear. Okay, most of it involves mantra chanting specific to those energy centers or chakras along those channels that assist you in developing the purity of the pathway. Because we need to remember that the source, yes, is inside of us, but the source is all around us. Source is always communicating with us. Our ability to receive the message that is being offered to us is completely dependent upon the purity of our channels. So, step 1, how do we develop these divine channel abilities? First and foremost, be a steward of your heart center. Be balanced. Be as stress-free as possible. Monitor your emotions. Okay? So all of a sudden this becomes a little more difficult. You mean I have to monitor my emotions? I can't be angry. I can't be this. I can't be that. You can be, but if you're planning on doing any form of channeling or questioning or asking source for guidance, you cannot afford to be out of balance emotionally. The message that's come through will very likely be skewed by that emotion. Okay, so we have to be a good steward of our heart center. This is why a great deal of Master Sha's wisdom and teachings focuses on forgiveness and forgiveness practices, because through life, if you take a look at your life, I did a life review of myself just a few nights ago. It was astounding when I looked back at the many years I've been here on the planet, quite a few decades, and looking back at the milestones of a variety of things that I had experienced and accomplished. And it was a bit overwhelming. It's like, my goodness, I've been a busy person, accomplished a lot. But the key is, in all of those experiences you have had, how many were traumatic? How many were invasive, where you felt like you were, at death's door, or emotionally speaking, like you were the dark night of the soul or whatever like that? Most of us have had 1, 2, or more experiences where it was very, very hard on us. And if that hardness involved other people, moms, dads, parents, violence, abuse, violent relationships, emotionally abusive, mentally abusive relationships, that creates trauma. Where do you think that trauma rests? Right here in your heart chakra message center. Coming back full circle to the necessity to do forgiveness practice. If you have a desire to increase your divine flow or channeling abilities, you have to clear this guy out. Again, I'm not going to go into a lot of details on that. The entirety of my podcast series is literally built to teach you how to decompress all of this. I do an entire series on emotional healing and transformation, an entire series on mental healing and transformation, physical, relationship, financial. Those are all things that could block your heart center. Okay? So go back, listen, do the work. When you actually start cleaning this guy out, the heart chakra, you can start receiving messages. So, what are the messages, and how are they delivered, I guess is the best way to put it. In my personal experience, the delivery can be different per person. Heaven is very unique. That's why, we've been taught 4 channels. Some people will receive the message in a third eye image. Some people will receive the message by a book falling off the shelf. Some people will receive the message in forms of colors or a direct knowing. It just flows into their head. They didn't even ask for it. It's just, and they know it. Now, a direct message is, in essence, the highest form of a channel, because a direct message comes with an absolute knowingness. There's no question. You receive a message, you're like, I just know that's the truth. and you might not need a validation for it, you just know it. Okay? So that is actually the highest form of channeling. Typically speaking, channeling is used to receive information that we might not know otherwise. So how then do we do that? We need to first develop that connection. This is best done through the channel known as the Soul Language Channel. Again, not going into great teachings today. Go back to the previous podcast. You can type in Soul Language. It will pop right up when you're on my podcast channel. For those that are new, podcast channel is called The Healing Source. And it describes the mantra to open this channel, this Zhong Mai, Hei Hong Hong A Shi Yi Wong Yo. Each one of those sounds vibrates a chakra, and when you chant it together, Hei Hong Hong A Shi Yi Wong Yo, it starts vibrating the channel more. And when you chant it quickly, Hei Hong Hong A Shi Yi Wong Yo, Hei Hong Hong A Shi Yi Wong Yo, da 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 da, faster, 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 then what it does is it opens up what's called soul language. This is one of the fastest ways to clear the blockages, not only in your heart center, but in all of the other chakras, because Source lives in us, Source lives around us. You and I are very much like a fish in the ocean. The water is in our gills, our lungs, everything. We are in the Source, Source is within us. We're just like a fish in the ocean of Source. So know that when you do practices such as Hei Hong Hong A Shi Yi Wong Yo, you are in essence clearing the channel so that that ocean of Source can more easily move through you. This includes the ability to flow naturally. So you have to do that, and if you haven't done that, go back, practice, open your soul language, chant the mantra Hei Hong Hong A Shi Yi Wong Yo often, and you will very quickly start to feel more energy, more clarity. Your health will start to improve. There's not a part of your life that won't improve if you're chanting that, let's say, an hour a day. That is one of the fastest ways to improve your channeling abilities. Why? Because you're not a vessel that is skewed or tainted by dirt. If I had a clean bottle of water in front of me, I'd hold it up and I would pour dirt in it. What's the dirt? That's every trauma and every negative experience you've had in this and all lifetimes. That skews the quality of pure flow. So by chanting this, it will help you clear that channel. And then when you ask for guidance and you pause to receive the message, which I'm going to explain more in a moment here, the quality and purity of that message, which is always 100%, will remain closer to 100% as it comes through our filters. You and I have filters. Our filters have to do with our mindsets, attitudes, beliefs, our consciousness, our lack of understanding, and our depth of understanding. So when Source is trying to borrow our words and our mouth and our consciousness to deliver a message, it's literally going through our filters. Okay? Have you ever noticed how there's 8 billion people on the planet and they can all watch the same thing but have an entirely different perspective on it? Why? Filters. Okay? It's no different for us. We all have them. So when you do what has been suggested so far and keep your filters clean by clearing the chakras and doing the chanting for the channel Hei Hong Hong A Shi Yi Wong Yo, this will clear out the debris. When you do more forgiveness practice, then when you ask questions and that message comes in, because that message that comes in will be 100% accurate because the Source is delivering it. If you ask the Source to deliver a message, it will be accurate. Now, how can you tell? When it comes in, you'll receive it. I'll teach you in a moment how to discern the words. And when it comes in, you'll be able to know, does this feel right? Source is love. You will be able to discern if it's love or if it's tainted. If it's tainted, it will very likely feel either it could be egocentric. So sometimes a message will come through if it's a false message. And false messages might come through like, I love you. You are the ideal child. I have not made a child more perfect than you. That's puffing. That's flattery. Okay. Source will give you positive messages, but the source is not going to fluff you. The source is not going to poof you up and say you're amazing. Okay. And that is probably a negative energy trying to find its way into your ability to receive a pure message. Okay. So watch for puffery, watch for things that try to pick you up and make you the ideal, the best, blah, 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 blah. Okay. This is again why it's so important to clear your channels, because as I explained in last week, go back and watch it if you missed it, the opportunity for lower frequencies and vibrations to enter your field and deliver a message to you is present. It depends. Do you hang out in bars? Do you drink alcohol? How much drugs do you do? How pure is your channel? If you leave opportunities for cracks, then negative messages and negative energies will take advantage of those cracks. And when you're trying to tune in, they will try to give you a negative message. So you have to be able to discern with accuracy. Now, when I do flow, when I receive a message, what am I doing and how and what is my process? The first thing I do is I discern what message I want to ask. I try to make it as accurate in the questioning as possible, because the more vague the question, the more vague the answer. The more precise the question, the more precise the answer. Be clear on that. So if you want a vague answer, then ask a vague question. Okay. The second thing is to know that your mind will try to give you the answer. Okay, just know it will. That's the mind's job. It loves to be in control. Why? Because you gave it that authority for quite a while. And it's time to usurp that authority, push it out of the way, and put your soul back in charge. Don't know how to do that? Go back and watch all my podcasts from the beginning. I literally teach you the wisdom from beginning to end, how to put your soul back in charge. But the mind will try to jump in there. And when the mind does, you have a process to move it back out. And that process is the mantra, Hei Hong Hong Ah Shi Yi Wong Yo, or the chanting of your soul language. So I will prepare the question. I'll know what the question is. I'll have it in front of me, or I'll have it written down. And by the way, when you receive the answer, if it's easier for you to write out the answer, great, write it out. If it's easier for you to speak out the answer, great, speak it out. I do not recommend speaking it out silently in your head. Very often what happens, we get an entire paragraph, and it's very easy for the mind to fool us. Speak it out or write it out, one word at a time. Exclamation mark, circled, one word at a time. This is how you can differentiate false from true messages. Because if you're just speaking out an entire paragraph, there's a very high likelihood it's your mind or something negative. When you're speaking one word at a time, waiting for the message to arrive, you hear it, you speak it, you hear it, you speak it, you hear it, you speak it. You, the personality, you have no idea what that next word's going to be. You don't even know if it's going to make sense. You don't know where it's going. And because you don't know where it's going or what the next word is going to be, when you get to the end of that sentence, you look at it and say, oh my God, that's interesting. I never would have thought about that. That makes sense. So flow starts here. Eventually you get to the point where you can have lucid multi-sentence answers, sometimes multi-paragraph answers. It takes time, it takes practice to get there. You start with one word at a time, and you start by knowing your question, clearing your channels. Hey hong hong ashi wong yo. How long do you chant? 5 minutes if that's what it takes. You chant until you forget what you're chanting for. This is another trick, okay? This is important to know. You chant Hei Hong Hong Ah Shi Yi Wong Yo, which is the Chi Channel mantra, until you forget why you're chanting. That's when your mind is disconnected. When you look down at your piece of paper and you see the question that you wrote down and you say, Dear the Source, can you please answer this question? Da, 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 da. And then what I do If I'm empty, then I just wait to receive a question. If my mind wants to get involved, which sometimes it will jump back in there, even though I went to emptiness, even though I chanted for 5 minutes till I forgot everything, when I ask the question, the mind might try to come back in. It has this ability. And then you just say, go back into your soul language. Hey, maybe 20, 30 seconds. Stop, wait for the words to come. When the words come, for some people, they just sit there. They get nothing. Here's what I recommend. Plant the seed. First word, dear Paul. Dear my son. Okay? Plant the first words. It's okay. Because you need like a little kickoff point. So you wait. Dear my son, Paul. Thank you for this question. When you do this action, you may not benefit. I suggest, and it will go like that. So you wait for the next word, you wait for the next word, you don't put the next ones in there. This is how you wait, you hear. You have no attachment. And if it's easier for you to write it down, great, write it down. If it's easier to speak into your phone, speak into your recorder. Whatever you need to do. But don't believe that a download of a whole paragraph is real. It doesn't usually happen that way unless you're a wide open channel and you've been doing this a long time. Okay? So, this, as stated at the very beginning, is a very large subject matter. When I started with Master Sha, honestly, I didn't believe in channeling. I just thought it was something that I was very scared of. I didn't have a whole lot of faith in it. I felt that it was a bit sketchy because I knew negative stuff was out there. Negative stuff could borrow my mouth or deliver a bad message. I absolutely did not want to do this for a living. I only wanted to offer people energy healing through Tao healing. But the source had different plans for me. With all my advertising, I use this as a source of revenue. With all my advertising, in big letters, healing this, healing that, healing this, healing that. In the smallest letters possible underneath, soul readings. Guess what everybody wants? They want soul readings. People want life guidance, okay? And they're willing to pay for it. And I did not want to do it because I did not want to make a mistake. I didn't want to receive bad messages, okay? But Source forced me to become comfortable. Part of that comfortability was the ability to know that it was an accurate message and the ability to trust when I spoke it. Even though whatever I was saying, which almost all the time I had no idea what I was saying, I would hear it, I would know it as I'm hearing it, but I would not know what was going to come out. And it would come out and would say, do this, do this, do that. And my personality is like, oh man, I hope this is right because I'm giving this person guidance, and if it's screwed up, that's bad karma for me, and I do not want that. So I have this huge apprehension around incorrectness, which makes me a great teacher of this subject matter because I understand the necessity to trust a message. And invariably, 1, 2, 3, 4 months later, sometimes a year later, people would let me know, hey, remember when you gave me that message? Da, 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 da. I'm like, no, because I don't. And they would say, yeah, it was very accurate. This and this happened, and it really helped me a lot. So validation occurred later, very consistently. And that helped me to feel comfortable with the accuracy of the messages. So do know that you will go through a process with yourself. You want to do something like this every day. So what do? When you wake up in the morning is probably the singular best time to do divine flows, okay? And my suggestion is, starting with a very simple set, I taught many of my students this, so I'm teaching you. Step 1, do 3 gratitude practices, okay? Find 3 unique, never before spoken gratitudes upon waking up. 3 never before spoken gratitudes. You're not allowed to repeat them. So this means you're going to have to get creative right around the 20th, 21st day. Okay. So this sets your heart field in the right space. You're in a gratitude-based space. You just came out of sleep, so you're relatively in good gamma alpha state, or whatever that state is, theta state, I don't know, where you are very still connected to the soul world. You don't have to do a lot of purification and cleansing. The mind's not fully activated yet. So you do your gratitude. And the question that I recommend you ask until you get really good at this is, dear Source, dear God, however you want to verbiage it, can you please give me guidance today for what I need to focus on most? The verbiage is important. Can you please give me guidance today for what I need to focus on most? Because your brain might say, I need to do A, I need to do B, I need to do C, and your brain's like, no, we got to do A, B, C, in that order. But the Source knows what is best for you. So when you ask, can you please give me guidance for what is most important for me to focus on today? And then you pause and you wait, you might hear something very different than your brain's 1, 2, 3. And so you receive that answer, dear my son, today, focus on bringing healing to your relationship with your son. Or today, focus on taking your time at work and be sure to monitor your emotions to stay relaxed. Now that's very different than you have to do A, B, C, D. So when you start doing what is suggesting, it starts putting it starts projecting a field into your day where you follow through with that. And as you follow through with these source-guided suggestions, your day will significantly improve. Promise you it will, because that's the way this entire life experience works, right? Where we place our focus is what we receive. So if our focus is on doing something that will benefit us, source-guided benefit, then it's a high likelihood that your day will be easier than you would do based on your mind processes. And just doing this each and every day, you will start to increase your accuracy and trust in feeling. What does it feel like when the Source talks to you? You'll be able to actually feel that, okay? And with time, you'll become comfortable with that. Then you start adding it, Maybe it's lunchtime and you're not sure what to do at lunchtime or where to go or what to eat, okay? And dear Source, can you please provide guidance as to what might be the optimal foods for me right now that my body really needs? And you might hear protein, and you might not like doing meats or protein because you're a vegetarian, and you still might not go and do it, even though the Source suggests it. But this is an example. Do you trust your mind? Does your mind jump in, oh my God, I'm vegetarian, I can't possibly do that? But if you trust it and you go and you eat a meat protein, you might find the rest of your day being very, very full of energy and feeling really good. This is another validation that Source might know what's best for you. So these are examples of how you can start implementing this in your life. Okay? So for those that came in late, please go back and watch from the beginning. This is the second in the series on this subject of channeling. The first one last week was what is divine flow and channeling and how does it work with samples. This week was how to develop divine flow abilities. Next week is to whom or what are you connecting to in your divine flows, okay? Because when I do flows, I can now connect to many different beings of light. I can get very specific messages, and I will teach you some tips and tricks for expanding divine flow in week 5, and then how can we use it to help you and others in week 6. So lots of fun stuff to look forward to. Make sure you grab your friends and bring them in this week, next week. Go and subscribe to my podcast. Start sharing it with family and friends on your Facebook page, Instagram, etc. This is Tao wisdom. There are so many people that need this wisdom. And if they start at the beginning where I start teaching it, how to transform your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, finances, all of my series go in that order. By the time it gets to this place, if they're new, they are far, far, far more advanced than they were when they started. And they're probably going to be in a much loving, healthier space. So do share this with your family and friends, my podcast, and it's called The Healing Source. So I want to thank you all for coming. I'm very grateful for your presence. And until next week, have an awesome day, everybody. Bye-bye.